I lost my little 1, 2, 3 Whiskey River intro, and I hate it because we have to use that stupid countdown. But you got AKA Bruce the Weathered Soul and DJ Dougie on the Weathered Soul podcast. It's the best podcast you've never heard of, and we're just welcome you here. We're in AJM Studios, and Dougie's sitting there at home, comfy in his little bark lounger there. Just say hi, Dougie. How you doing, bud?
Hey, Dougie. How you doing, bud?
And we're here every couple of weeks here just to kind of banter back and forth. If you've seen us before, welcome to the show. We love that you're here. This is number 2. Here, I keep having to train myself to do this, but this is show number 2 of the new show. We got about 200 shows underneath our belt so far, but you know what? I quit YouTube, and actually, Dougie, this is a surprise. We're back on YouTube today. Why? Hell with them. We're gonna go with it until they kick us off again. But no, show number 2 back on the Weather Soul podcast. I wanted to start fresh with some brand new episodes, so I just figured we're gonna go revert back to number 1. We had number 1 a couple of weeks ago. We got number 2 going on now, and maybe we won't do a number 2 today, but we're going to try not to. Anyway, we want to welcome everybody here who's listening on Facebook or on YouTube, and we just welcome you here. We have had just a myriad of people joining the Weather Soul Liberty Network, which is our YouTube channel. That is thanks to our subject today. We were going to be talking about the Nomad Network. Which Jason Stapleton, one of the people that I really rely on. He's a mentor of mine, business-wise and social-wise, and I've got all him to thank for this. We've got the comment section open. If you guys want to put in a comment there, one of us will be monitoring the comment section. If we get to it, we'll answer your comment. But we're just welcoming you guys here. And like I said, it's been a while. Dougie, how you been? What's going on with you? Yeah, check in because it's been 2 weeks since the last time we heard from you.
Yeah, well, sorry.
How about your shirt, world, today, man? You always wear a cool shirt. We want to see your shirt today.
Oh, tonight's shirt. Yeah, I got a special one for all of our science nerd friends.
There we go. Before E, except after C, it's been disproved by science. You gotta love it because Dougie is a big science guy, and me, I do my own thing. I do let me see. Let me drop Dougie out of here real quick, and I'll show you mine. My Weathered Soul shirt. There we go. My Weathered Soul band shirt. That's what I've got on today. And that's what we do. I mean, this is the Weathered Soul podcast. I have the Weathered Soul band. You got a couple places that you can find us on, and I'm going to share my screen right now with you guys so you guys know what's going on. And I was looking for a water heater before we started here, but you can find us on the Weathered Soul Liberty Network, which is our YouTube page. We have had 25% more subscribers in the last 2 weeks than we've had in 2 years. So I mean, we're rising up on the ranks, and I have to thank the Nomad Network for that, because there's a bunch of people that have entered into the fray, and they are listening to the morning drive. This is probably their first experience into the Weathered Soul podcast, which I welcome you guys because we love you being here. This is kind of like me and Dougie's Zoom call that we do. We used to do this every week. We've cut it down to every 2 weeks, and this is a Zoom call. It's just 2 guys, kind of like a Hannity and Combs things. We bounce each other back and forth. Sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong, and mostly, it is what it is. We banter about the news of the day. We talk politics. We talk all kinds of things, but we're going to drop the politics. We've been on COVID forever. We've been on all those things. It's kind of boring. But another place you can get us on too is this is where you can get us for our audio portion of the podcast. If you just go over to anchor.fm/the Weather Soul podcast, you can go there. Also, you can find us on the WSLN Weather Soul Liberty Network. That would be the Facebook page. All those show notes are down below. And like I said, we just want to welcome you here because we have a great time here. And I've got a special guest today, and I've been waiting to get more guests on this podcast forever. And we've had guests on before, and Josh is actually a member of this site. Dougie's got a good friend, Josh, who loves to come on and give each other hell, and we love him. But we have a new app that I am personally on, and what we're going to talk about today, and the name of this podcast today is Living in the Trash Can, or living and loathing in Facebook. And basically what this is a premise of is because I have actually pulled myself away from a lot of Facebook advertising, a lot of Facebook posts. I've gone back to the little furry doggies and the little puppies and the food stuff and all that, kind of like what Facebook was supposed to be, because I got pulled into so many rabbit holes. And Dougie, he got out of Facebook a long time ago, man. And he is my rock. Let me tell you that, because I find it hard not to click back in there and try to get into a fight, and that's just one of the things that I do. And Dougie achieved that a long time ago. Dougie, tell him just a little bit about your story with Facebook, and then we'll get on with the show.
Well, I was kind of an early adopter on Facebook, actually. And, I got in there. I think Facebook was around probably, I don't know, less than a year when I got in there. And it was great at the beginning. It was a lot of fun. Everybody did their thing and, hooked up with a lot of old friends. And, I ended up like 160 friends. And they're all people I knew, not just like, whoever wanted to send me a be my friend thing. Then, I actually got into things. I started a couple of groups, Dutch oven cooking group, and a private page for my friends just to state their happy horseshit. And the reason why I did that was because I was getting so many, so many heavily, intensely emotional opinions about things. That's the best way I can describe it. On my feed, I said, look, to all my friends, I have this page put aside here called I'd Just Like to Say This, where you can post all your happy horseshit. Well, then, battle started on that. Somebody posted some stupid thing and somebody else said, well, I'm offended by that. And it's like, well, at least it's not on my page. But when Facebook said, whatever you post on our platform is our property and we can do what we want with it in forever, done, it's ours. I was like, that's it. I'm not putting another thing on this platform. What you have mine now is what you have. Do whatever you want with it. You're not getting anything new. I posted a lot of stuff. I mean, hundreds of photos of trips and family members and friends and, old things, new things, stories, song lyrics, all sorts of things. But it was a personal thing. And when it's like, no, this is not public property, I was like, no, run away. That was it. Just a couple of things happened that set me off. And I was like, I'm not going to go back to this until like this news cycle passes and this stuff is over with, election or whatever. And I went back, it was about 3 months. I went back and I just saw the same thing and it revolted me. So that was it. I didn't like close my account or cancel anything. I just stopped my notifications and didn't open it up again. I don't even know what my password is anymore. So that's my story.
Yeah, and you know what? You tell me that story every time I throw a fit and want to stamp my feet up and down and things like that. I started in Facebook way back when it first started. Also, I mean, I was dabbling around and I heard about this thing, Facebook, and I actually went on and I made my first profile. And actually, it really didn't interest me. I had too much things going on. I really didn't. It was just a bunch of college kids. I mean, really, that's what it was. I mean, there wasn't even kids on there yet. It was just college kids. It wasn't like small kids that were on there now. I don't even see small kids. There were a bunch of old guys now that are on there. But yeah, I got on there then. And then back when I started listening to Jason Stapleton, I guess I got in before that. But actually, I got in when I was going through my church group phase, when I was a junior high school pastor, and everybody kind of pulled me in, and I got into there, and I got through that phase and everything, and then I got political, and that's kind of when it all got downhill, and because I can't keep my mouth shut, I lack that filter that keeps the bullshit from invading my ears, and I call it all out. But Doug knows just as well as I do that we banter back and forth about all that stuff right now, and it's just one of those things that I still cannot pull myself away from. But what I want to do is I want to introduce you to a really, just an acquaintance that I've just had right now. We're becoming friends, and he's a part of this new network that I am involved in called the Nomad Network, and it's a network brought together by Jason Stapleton. And if you've ever heard of Jason Stapleton, he started out in the Liberty Movement years ago. I started listening to him about 2000. It's had to be somewhere around 2015, maybe even less than that. And I just got pulled in. His voice, the way he motivated, the way he does all those things. And he's mostly about business. And that's what kind of got me interested in the most. And I just want to bring this guy on right now. His name is Ken Madden. How you doing, Ken?
I'm doing great. Great. How you guys doing tonight?
Great, Ken. Thanks.
Good,
as you said, we only actually met a couple of weeks ago, online with that new kind of, I guess, COVID friendship where we may never ever meet, but we seem to be friends.
Yeah.
I went back. I got to give you guys a compliment because I went back and listened to a bunch of the shows because I hadn't heard of it before. Of course, it's I was new to meeting you and what you're doing, and you guys, you should be commended to be able to have banter back and forth on a disagreements without being disagreeable. It's what's wrong with the country. So I'm going to start out right there, just saying you guys have a good thing going. And
Right on. Well,
appreciate it.
You can ask each of us our opinions, and we'll both say, I really don't care if you want to be wrong. It's okay. I still love you.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion, wrong as it may be.
Yeah. Right.
He took the words right out of my mouth.
Told you.
But anyway, so what we're doing here tonight is that I had just joined. Actually, I've been around Jason Stapleton for a long time, and Jason has started many of these. I don't want to say this is the network that he has right now, but he's started many groups, and those groups have spanned from a Discord group that I remember he's had, a Telegraph group, of this group, of that group. And I've always paid for his content. I've taken many classes from him. I took my podcasting course from him. I took a trading course from him. I do all. I got all of his classes I have bought already, and so I've got an invested interest in Jason. And when he came out with this app, I was a little skeptical, but Amy had emailed me and said, "Hey, we canceled your influencer membership. We want you to join the app." And I'm going like, okay, this is not what I bought into, but she says, but it's great. The first thing I thought of was like, I'm losing all my content. There goes all my content. Well, no, my content is safe and secure because Jason has guaranteed me that he's never going to get rid of that as long as he's around and I've got access to that site. I'm always going to have that content. But the neat thing is that for the money that I was paying to be in his influencer group, it went down. What was it, Ken? I think it went down probably $30, $40 or something like that just to join this network.
Right.
And believe me, it doesn't cost you a thing to join this network. I mean, you can join this network and it is free. If you want to upgrade, you can upgrade. But I want to tell you that that I think this network has a lot of potential. We're going to talk to Ken about this tonight. But the first thing I want to talk to Ken about is, Ken, one of the requirements that I had for coming on this podcast tonight was to find out where you were on Facebook, why you're not on Facebook, why you still might be on Facebook, and what brought you actually to Jason Stapleton and the Nomad Network.
Let's start with Facebook. So I've got kids. I got two kids, and they're 26 and 19 now. So they were on social media and stuff, but way before I was. I didn't actually get on Facebook until 2012, and I was one of those people that watched Fox News all the time and just, whatever Bill O'Reilly said was it might as well be coming from God. And I believed all that. And when Obama got elected, I ended up jumping into politics and just trying to figure out what it was. I didn't know anything about it. I was a complete ignoramus about it. So I just jumped in at the local level and started working my way up. And part of what I was doing was I found that Twitter was a great thing to monitor during a debate, a presidential debate. So I started on Twitter, and that moved me into Facebook. And then I'm in this Republican group, and I ended up getting actually elected to the executive committee on the local Senate district. And no one knew how to do any Facebook stuff. I'm like, well, I'll just figure it out. So that's how I got into Facebook, was through politics. And I actually got out of politics through Facebook. I'm still on Facebook, but I don't do any political activism on there anymore, unless it's just something that can help help me in my business somehow. But yeah, I don't. The Facebook, it turned into a complete time sink that I probably wasted 8 years of my life arguing the battles, going down the rabbit holes, talking to trying to convince somebody that was unconvincible that I was right and they were wrong, and they should think the way I do because I'm right. And it turns into a disease there. And in the way that Facebook the algorithms work is that you start to, before they started really, like in the last couple of years, they've been really kind of blocking people and shadow banning them and doing all this kind of stuff and putting them in Facebook jail. That wasn't happening. So you could actually have these long conversations that sometimes would bear some fruit, but as it got more and more vitriolic, like what you were saying, DJ, someone just wants to go in there and shit post and say what they're going to say, and they absolutely will not listen to a word about your there's no intellectual honesty. It all went out the window. So Facebook cured intellectual honesty. And so now I'm on it. Our business, we have I started in 2014 with 5 other people. We started a motorcycle parts and accessories company, and we use Facebook for advertising, and it's been fabulous for us for that. And so when I saw how well that worked for that, I said, you know what? My family's spread across the country. I'm in Wisconsin. I've got a sister in Alaska, a brother in Florida. My parents are in their 90s in Arizona, and I've got a sister and a brother in Massachusetts. So we're literally spread across the country. Facebook works well for that, for us to share pictures and things like that. But I mostly use it now for just my my art business and promoting it, and is trying to find other people and other groups that I can work within to help promote my art business. And it's been great for that. But other than that, I spend most of my time on the Nomad network, or working, actually creating something, doing something, trying to make my life better, the people around me better, my family, my community, whatever I can do. And instead of going on Facebook and arguing with somebody that was an avid supporter of someone on the left that I was an avid disagreeer with, I'm not going to convince someone that's working for Nancy Pelosi's campaign that she's a bad person to reelect. And I thought I could. And Facebook makes you think you can, because you'll have the echo chamber will start coming in, and that's Fox News and CNN and MSNBC. They all have their own little echo chamber of people that they talk to, and no one can sit and talk like the 3 of us here. Now, my background, I grew up in Massachusetts. Both my parents are school teachers. My dad is a musician. I moved out to Minneapolis to go to art school to get a degree. I was going to get a degree in illustration, and I ended up doing product design. And I'm as liberal can be. I voted for Dukakis in that election. You remember Michael Dukakis? Mm-hmm. Well, this was my level of understanding of politics. I voted for Michael Dukakis because my dad was a music teacher that had his kids in the same town. And so we knew Michael Dukakis. And I thought, if he gets in, my dad gets to play in the White House. So that was my reasoning for voting for president, which, as I got more involved in politics, I was embarrassed about that. But the more I think about it now, I'm like, that's the best reason. I wish I could vote for one of the two in this last election, to be able to vote for either of these 2 clowns and go, my dad could be in the White House if this guy wins. That would have gave me an actual reason to vote for one of them. So anyway, Facebook and everything that happened in social media all across the board, it just sickened me. And I realized through political activism, and I ran the Tea Party in Minneapolis for a few years, and trying to get people that are liberty-minded to do anything other than leave everybody alone is impossible. So it was pointless. And so I also realized that with politicians, left, right, middle, libertarian, anything, if you don't have a large group, I mean, thousands of people, like a union or something like that, of voters that you can deliver, or a large amount of cash, you're just a useful idiot. You're handing out flyers and going door knocking, door to door. And other than very local, I mean, local, like city elections, that just doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah.
so that's my spiel on Facebook. I'm still on there, but I'm using it. I'm using it because it's all about me and my needs now.
Right. Right. Exactly.
And you
exactly.
understand that while you're doing that, you're making Facebook money.
Yes.
And that's okay. You
And that's
understand it.
That's
See,
okay.
that wasn't okay with me.
Yeah.
That's why fine. It's like, I don't touch it, because you know what? If I see, when I started in Facebook and I started looking and opening up pages, I got this big long contract thing, and it explained how if the page becomes popular, they're going to start putting advertisements on it.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to manage the page, or do I want them to manage the page for me? There's a revenue share. If you get enough of this, you get a check, and da 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 da. And it's just like, really? Well, I'll keep my population down to like below 100. That way I don't have to worry about this.
Well, here's the way I look at that and why that's okay with me. Because in the past, the kind of advertising we would do, or I would do, is in magazines and that kind of thing. And that was very, very effective. And it's completely dead right now. And still as expensive as it used to be, but you don't get nearly what you can get for now. Facebook advertising, because I do paid ads on Facebook from time to time. And why I'm hoping that I can figure out a way out of Facebook is for what you're talking about, because they are getting greedy. Where it used to be, I could boost a post for $35-$40 and it would bring 200 people to my web page, or will have comments, and it would make me money.
Well,
I don't mind giving Facebook $35 if I can make $2,500 off of that $35 ad. That's value to me.
Well, it's not just that, but everyone who looks at your page is looking at other advertisements who are paying $35 to Facebook, and 35 and 35
Yep.
and 35 and 35 and 35 and 35 and 35. So I'll tell you a story, though. This is the truth. When I changed careers and I got into the solar industry, my boss and I were starting this business. He was the boss. He had the investment. He had the liability. I had the what it took to make the business go. We tried. We went to county fairs. We went everywhere. We went to all the little home shows. We advertised with billboards. We advertised in magazines and newspapers, and we were going nowhere. I told him, I said, look, you're not going to get any business until you start paying Google's extortion.
Right.
He started paying Google's extortion, and boom, the business took off. That's all there's to it. They got you. So I know what you're saying. It's like one format or another format or whatever. If you don't get into a huge mega social media giant, nobody is ever going to know you exist anymore.
It's true. And in the 90s, when I had when I was doing some pinstriping and airbrushing and things like that on custom cars and bikes, I looked at maybe I'll take an ad out in Hot Rod Magazine. So Hot Rod Magazine, which at the time was the #1 automotive magazine.
And were you in Massachusetts when you did that?
Yeah.
Did you ever do like a running rabbit on the side of a Volkswagen Rabbit?
Yes, I did. I did do one of those. I did.
One of my friends had that car.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That
was in Minnesota though. But
no, like at a craft fair somewhere, like an art and wine festival type thing. Yeah, one of my buddies had I think it was probably like an '84 Volkswagen Rabbit.
Cool.
And this guy was doing airbrushing, and he airbrushed it right on both sides of the car, and then put a little bit of clear lacquer over it, and off he went and stayed on the car the rest of its life.
Yeah, that's great. But the Hot Rod Magazine thing, when I got the pack, they send you the media pack for pricing. The back page, the back cover of for a month was $52,000. This is in the 90s. The back cover was $52,000 a month.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
worthless now.
And when you look at magazine ads, and we do advertising on podcasting, we do advertising, but we don't do radio ads, we don't do anything like that because they're not valuable. And so all of what you're talking about, well, true, you got to pay the extortion, but if it's reaching where you need to reach, it's what you got to do.
It's what you've got to do.
It's
Just like
what
you
you
used to
gotta
have
do.
to pay the newspaper, or you used to have to pay the
Yeah.
phone book or whatever. Sure. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now it's
Okay.
choose of who you do it, who you give it to.
Yeah.
So let me reel this back in because I got some more questions to go to. So Ken has been around for a long time. I've seen Ken, in the Jason Stapleton realm. I call it Jasonville for quite a long time. And actually, I've seen his pattern around even in the other networks and stuff. And I know that you and Jason, you run his winter show when he's not able to on Wednesday nights, and that's kind of what kind of keyed me in that, hey, you're one of the guys that's kind of close to Jason. How did you get to meet Jason, and how did Jason come about to you? And where did you actually first hear him from? Just tell me your story about Jason.
Yeah, so it all came from. Have you ever heard of someone called Chris Ann Hall? She's an online person. She has a Liberty. Oh boy, what's her name? I'll have to send you the link, but it's Chris Ann Hall, KRIS. It's Chris Ann Hall. But anyway, she's a constitutional lawyer, and she gave up her whole career to go teach the Constitution. And it's not left or right. It's just the facts. This is what it was in context of the time that it was written. Well, I'd followed her quite a bit and been to a bunch of her lectures and had taken some of her classes and read her books. And she was a guest on Jason Stapleton's show. I never heard of Jason Stapleton. And back in 2015, somewhere around there. And so I listened to him in the interview, and I'm like, wow, his is the first, because I've heard a lot of people with interviewer, and most people try to make her look like a kook. And he didn't. He was listening because she's brilliant. She really knows her stuff. And he really treated her well. I'm like, you know what? This guy has some respect for someone I have respect for. And the ideas that we're talking about are all liberty minded. And there was no right or left to it. Let me give this guy a chance. So I started to listen to him, a day a week or a couple of days. And eventually, you get hooked, and it was every day. And then he changed. His format. And I watched the Facebook group, the wasteland of bad ideas that was incinerate, and people went crazy and like, oh, you're just in it for the money. And I'm sitting here thinking, this guy's got the answer. The answer isn't all this political activism that I've been doing that's gotten me absolutely nowhere. I've got pictures of eating lunch with Michelle Bachmann. Ooh, that's as much as it happened. But I started listening to his show. I was bummed that it went down from, because I had an hour commute each day. I had 50 miles I went. So it was the perfect show to listen to each day on one of the trips. So I'm like, oh, now I got to find something else to listen to for 3 days. But when he changed the format, I'd started a business. I've been a freelancer for years and years, and this all made sense to me. I'm like, wow, this is what no one's talking about. And I remember him years ago saying, it might be this year, it might be 10 years from now, but if you're not ready, when things start to turn, there's going to be some kind of thing that happens. And I agreed. So finally, after years, I took some of his free classes. I'm cheap as hell, you guys. I'm really cheap. My newest car is a 2001, and I didn't want
Minnesota.
Yeah, in Minnesota. I have a tooth. My
You don't drive in the winter, I suppose.
No, I drive it.
Hibernate.
It's my winter. That's my winter car, and it's a good winter car like you'd have in Minnesota. It's a 2001 Lincoln Town car.
It's one of those ones with the cardboard floors.
Yeah, it slowly gets lighter every year. But
right on.
So I got that. I drive rusty cars in the winter because they just get destroyed.
Yeah.
But when he changed his format and I started listening to it, and I took a couple of his classes, I started realizing, all right, he's really onto something. And so he offered one class for like $50, and I'm like, you know what? I can afford $50. I'm going to take a class, and I took it, and it changed my whole outlook on things. I'm like, wow, this is a really different way of looking at. I think it was just on marketing yourself. It was how to build your brand. And what people are looking for and sell. It was just, the stuff that he talks about, but put together so succinctly and so concisely, and you could ask questions, and it wasn't I mean, the whole thing was a sales pitch for a bigger thing, right? But at the end of it, I didn't buy the bigger thing, but I got so much out of it. I was like, wow, a month later, I bought the bigger thing, and then the bigger thing. And then as soon as he said was going to start a network, my hand shot up. I'm like, I'm in. Whatever it is, I'm in. Let's do it. And so I was probably one of the first 30 or 40 people when he started the network. And then as he's gone through this one that we're on now, it started out as the 9-figure network a couple of years ago.
Right.
And it was a pretty wonky app. And so he moved to a different app, which was the Blink app, which was better, but we outgrew that. And then when he opened this new app that he's in now, it's like it grew exponentially. So that's it went from like 200 people to like 1,500 people in 6-7 weeks.
Right.
So how I ended up getting with him is that, so one of the things we do in it, one of the reasons I wanted to join is because he said every Wednesday he himself is going to sit down with anybody that wants to sit down with him and talk over a Zoom call, right? And to me, I figured, all right, well, there's 100 people in the group. There's going to be 100 people in this Zoom call. So I go on the Zoom call, and it's me and Jason and like 3 other people. I'm like, this is friggin' awesome. This is like free now, because he charges. He's $1,500 an hour or something like that.
Well,
$12,000 a day.
Yeah. He quoted me $1,500 an hour.
Yeah. So to get him for an hour that you can ask him a couple of questions and go back and forth. And I was like, well, this is worth it. So I'm like, well, maybe it'll grow and I'll eventually just not be able to ask a question anymore. But I was consistently there every single week. And, the biggest week I think we had 22 people in there. I mean, it's the best kept secret that no one takes advantage of. And so I've learned just through, you do that for a year and a half, every Wednesday, you talk to somebody, you start to build a relationship. And he helped me with a lot of things. I bought, as a customer of his. So it's not like we're close and tight and I'm not in any kind of inner circle with him at all, because I'm not. I have nothing to do financially with the network or anything like that, other than the goals of what it's going to do, I think, is the answer of what the future needs to be for people of all beliefs. It's and so that's my story on it. So I get to the point now where, he went to get married, and Amy just sent out a thing saying, someone want to take the Wednesday night call? I said, I'll take both of them if that's okay. So, I just hope I did them justice, because they're a lot of fun.
Actually, I came in on your first show or your first time on it. And that was the first time I had actually, I had been in the network for a couple of weeks, I think. And I'm a motivation guy. So, every morning I'm putting out a motivational type, devotional type thing on the network. And I take the news of yesterday and kind of fashion it into a message. And then I blurt it out text wise. And then I do my morning drive, which is basically my most popular podcast that I have right now. But, I met Jason like around 2015, like you did, driving back and forth to work. I was listening to iHeartRadio, just kind of the radio, whether it be a sports or whatever it was, on my way to work. And his advertisement would come on, are you into liberty? Are you into this? Are you into that? And, I had been a libertarian for a while, or I had libertarian aspects for a while, but they were starting to sour already. And so I decided to listen to Jason, and he had already started on his downfall with libertarianism's all right, and it's all, everything about the Constitution is all good and glorious and blah, 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 and stuff like this. But he says, this is really not the goal. I mean, he said it best when he was on with Dave, with Dave,
Dave Smith.
Yeah, Dave
right?
Smith. Yeah. And he goes like, so you win. So what do you win? So where do you go? So you get the presidency, or you get a high or a high stakes political position. Where do you go? Where do you take it? And he was correct. And, I've been listening to Jason for so many years, and he's always telling you, like he said today or yesterday in his podcast, he says, I've been right, and I've been right consistently. And he just, I just know these things that are going on. I follow things. I research these things. I do this. I do that. and he steered me in the right direction. I'm the worst procrastinator in the world. I probably have 10 of Jason's programs, and he knows because he tracks your progress in his programs. So he knows that I'll get about halfway through a program and that's it. So, every one of his programs, I think, except for the podcasting course, I've gone all the way through twice. I don't know why.
That's a good one. I did that one too.
It's really a good course. Mm-hmm. If you guys have any course that you guys want to get from Jason, the podcasting course is the one to get to start out with. But anyway, he just taught me how to do this. I mean, I've already had speaking skills. I already had that being in front of the crowd skills because I'm a musician. I've been a junior high school pastor, things like that. So I have no problem talking to people. And, Dougie knows I'll talk his ear off. He wants to.
Well, it's because you like to hear yourself.
Yeah, he wants to run out of my house every time he comes to break bread with me.
It's mainly because you like to hear yourself talk.
That too.
Well, you
I don't know how many times I listen to my own podcast, but
yeah, you agree with yourself most
just to
of
get
the time.
clicks. Just to get clicks. But anyway, I gave Jason a chance, and he has not let me down yet. And what I really want to touch on now is this network that he's got, because this is why we're here tonight. I'm here tonight because I'm sold on Jason Stapleton. DJ, he has his aspirations about what he wants to do. And I think for anybody who's in a situation right now, like he says, when we're dissatisfied with what's going on around us, whether it be your employment, whether it be your job, whether it be where you're living, whether it be the taxes, whatever the case may be, he's offering a way to get into what they call absolute autonomy. And whether that takes sacrifice. It really does. It takes sacrifice. It takes a non-blinder approach, but actually a focused approach on where you want to go. And he's got some very simple steps on how to get there. And it just kind of relies on you to take the reins and go. So he has given us this great network that he has. And granted, me and Dougie talked about it a little bit today, and he goes like, oh, this is another LinkedIn. Well, it could be, but I don't think that we're going to evolve into that, because I think that the people that are there right now, that we have got in there right now, are all people that are on the same road. We all want to get to the same place. And
people are helping each other. I mean, the whole idea of it, of I'm coming on your podcast, you're helping me by having me on to have this discussion.
You're helping me.
Yeah. And I'm helping you guys. And it's like the whole feel of it, and this is what it's going to be, the trick to keep it this way. The whole feel of this network is people helping other people. I've got 3 other people that I'm collaborating with on different projects on there, and the quality of character on there I've never seen on social media. Where these people are, no one comes on and says, "Oh man, that video you did really sucked. I don't know, you should just give it up." They might come on and say, "Well, you kind of blew it on that one, but here's some ideas on how it could improve." And this is what, and we put things on there to say, I put videos on and say, "Look at this." And one of the our salespeople from work joined today because she heard what I was saying. She asked me, she's like, "What did you add that list of things that?" Because there's a lot of lists and literature in there that's helpful. It just put these things. Ooh, listen to that. But she joined today. And she jumped in and she's like, "Wow, I looked at the comments people said on when you put the video up, and it was a video I did for work, the motorcycle place." And I said, I've got like 4 or 5 of these videos to do. This is like the 3rd one. Can I get some feedback? And I got awesome feedback. "Hey, did you think about trying this? Do you think about trying this?" And some people say, "Well, that was really good. It's nice to hear you did a good job." But it's also,
this is really interesting because what it sounds like you're describing to me from an outsider's point of view is like a blog, and I know that when I got started in the solar industry, there wasn't Facebook, there wasn't anything, but we did have the internet,
right?
And the solar distributing companies would have like a blog where people could ask questions, like do-it-yourselfers can say, what's the electrical code on this? Do I need to do this? And then and general people, just people who have browse this distributor's website and join their network could answer in and, answer questions. There's also, like one electrical forum, they call it a forum, electrical engineer, that a lot of people call in about electrical questions, funny wiring stuff, voltage things, and all sorts of stuff. And, it's a community in the answer. And, it's like kind of like if you go on the internet and said, like, like, how do I change the heating element in my stove? Right.
Mhm.
And then, first thing you get is YouTube videos, and then you get a blog, and then,
Yeah.
so it sounds like it's that kind of a thing,
Well,
in a way.
yeah, it is kind of like that, but it's a lot different than, we had that discussion, this afternoon on our way home about LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is always, in my mind, has always been, and every time I've gone to LinkedIn, it's always that people are trying to sell themselves. It's a sell themselves type thing. It's
exactly.
Or somebody else is trying to sell you.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a very selfish, selfish app, and I hate it because I never go there, because every time
when I want to get
when I
want to get inundated with spam about job leads, I'll
Right,
open it
right.
up and close it.
Right. So it's a lot different than that, but you kind of hit it on the head, DJ, because the fact is that here's a place where they're not going to give up. I mean, I've yet to see anybody give up on, I just got my webpage done for First Note Productions LLC and all the companies that I have into them, all drafts, and all by the people that were driving me along by saying, hey, you did a good job here, or maybe you need this little piece there and stuff like that. And they don't leave you alone. They want to know, that you're doing okay. And you can, let me just show you the site. I got the site up real quick. I just want to show everybody the site as we're here. And I'll bring it on full screen right now. But this is the app right here. And as you can see, people are posting here. It's kind of like Facebook, but it's really not. It's more of like you said, a blog. But people are there, they're showing you what they're doing.
Here's a great one. Yeah, Danny. So he has hot sauce. He has and really he has a podcast too, and he's a financial guy, and he has a financial podcast, which is really interesting. But he decides he wants to start the side thing doing hot sauce. So one of the things he did in the network was he was putting the labels on there and say, what do you guys think of this? What do you think of that? And just kind of noodled through it for a few weeks with us all about and he took our ideas, the ones he liked, and the ones that he didn't like, he didn't take. And he came up with something that really works, and it's a great looking brand. And that was all done with his hard work, but through the opinions and there's people of all levels there. And, right. I'm a product designer. I've got 30 patents to my name. I've been doing graphic design and artwork for 30 years, and I'm pretty experienced at this stuff. From my perspective, it's one thing. From another perspective of a woman, and there's a tattoo artist that's a brilliant artist. She had a completely different thought process for it. And both of them together helped him, to work through some of the issues of packaging and graphic design and just plain art and it's just this, it's just a community of people that it sounds culty, and it really isn't, but it's a community of people that really genuinely want to help each other.
Right. My sister-in-law is a graphic artist. She's retired. And my her husband's brother has a honey company, and I don't know if this is going to resolve it all, but not very well, huh?
Let me get you on here. Let me pull out a full screen here, and we'll put you on the big screen.
Anyway, it's Highland Honey, right? And this is a cottage industry. This is a business that he started himself, and he had a family member help him with the graphic designs, and he sold himself. The stuff is available at like Whole Food markets now, and obviously on the internet, right? And he's got a nice little business going, and actually, it sounds like he might be a perfect
fit for it
to turn him on to this.
Well, and the idea here too is everything is networking and personality, as far as, and I mean personality is the deals that you make with people. They're buying from you. They're buying from a human being. They have to have a reason. You can have the greatest product in the world, And if you're just a jerk, no one will buy it. And if you just come off and don't show value in it, you're not going to be nearly as successful as the same guy that has a product that's mediocre, but is just an honest, hardworking, dyed in the wool, has his passion. You know that he's going to be there for you.
That's like, well, don't need to know what color underwear you're wearing, but that's some really nice artwork.
There's my famous Amy Nichols. I like Amy.
Yeah, Amy's awesome.
She's a great, from what I see from her artwork and her tattooing is fantastic. She's really, really talented. But we've got musicians on there. I've met very many musicians. In fact, I'm going to go have coffee with a guy that's into Bitcoin. And I just want to kind of pick his mind because I'm not into Bitcoin. I don't know yet. I'm kind of like,
I'm on the same page.
Huh?
I'm on the same page. I don't understand it.
But here's another guy that I'm really fond of, and that's Adam Rothstein. Adam Rothstein has taught me so much about Audacity. And if anybody knows about Audacity, it's how I do this podcast after me and Dougie sign off. And I use Audacity to manipulate our sound and stuff like that before I actually put it onto anchor.fm. And he has taught me so much about the sound and how to use the separate apps and stuff or the functions that Audacity has. Oh. And the kid is just, he's phenomenal. And I've been encouraging him all the time. I'm going like, dude, you need to kind of put everything together and make a class because I'm going to buy that class. This is a kid that every day he's posting something every day. He is doing the work. Yeah, and he is doing the work.
He is doing the work, and he's struggling through it. And he's I've watched him progress over he was one of the early guys too. He was in there right in the beginning, and I've watched him progress and get so much better. And just seeing that is awesome because I'm an older guy. I'm 53. I'm not old, but I'm 53. I think he's 26 or 27.
Like
and
that,
can you imagine having this resource at that age and being to have your whole life in front of you? To know to start to learn these things.
When I was unemployed is, when I really got onto Facebook, like, I quit my job of 22 years, like in 2008. I was just tired of doing it. That's when I decided to get into solar. And there was probably about an 18-month period where I was going to school for solar and looking for a job in solar. And I had a lot of time and I was on Facebook, hours a day. And I think that may have been one of the reasons why I got off it. Because when I got a job, I didn't have time. I didn't have time for that crap.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. Yes, I love you too. Oh, I'm glad you're wearing purple underwear. Okay, that's great. Like, unlike.
So you're having chicken.
I gotta go to bed.
You're having chicken for dinner. Oh, chicken. Oh no, for dessert you have an ice cream. That's good. That would drive me crazy. Was the pictures of dinners.
I love my friends, but yeah. Now, my wife only posts pictures of our cats. People must be sick of that, but there's a lot of cat lovers out there. It doesn't matter if there's 500 pictures of the same cat. It's like if it's a new one, it's like.
Abby's a dear person. The biggest thing the biggest caveat that we have about the Nomad Network is this is absolutely free to join. You can go to www.nomadnetwork.app, and if you listen to me every morning, I'm pounding that into your head. And if you see me on like I said, on the Weathered Soul podcast, even on my In the Pit of My Stomach or Bruce for Liberty, any podcast I'm going to be on, I'm going to be touting this network because it's really, I can say all I want about liberty. I can say all I want about freedom. Me and Dougie have discussed this to ad nauseum, but the fact of the matter is that it's all about community and it's all about people working together to get to the common place where we want to be. And we can talk about corporatism, we can talk about all that political stuff that they're talking about, out there on Facebook land and in a junk trash bin that I call Twitter all day long. But the fact of the matter is that it's about us. It's about what we produce. It's about what we can produce for other people and what other people can produce for us and how we can help each other to get where we need to be. Now, we go a lot deeper than that in the Nomad Network, but you'd have to be able to join and be able to understand, listen to kind of Jason and listen to some of the people that are running around there. And you get the sense of this is a different place. And it's a different place than LinkedIn. It's a different place than Facebook. It's a different place than Twitter. It's totally different than any place that I've ever been. And I'm telling you right now, I've been around Jason long enough, and this is the place that I'm at now. I mean, if I'm posting on Facebook, it's because I'm posting something that I saw on Nomad Network to try to get somebody else interested to come in to do it. And like I said, it's totally free. If you want to upgrade to use some of the other resources that he has, you can upgrade, and no problem. You get some special stuff and special offers that he has. But for the most part, I mean, the community itself on the free portion is just fantastic. The fact is, though, is that this cannot go forward unless we have actually paying members. And I never thought in a million years. I mean, back what was it? Probably 5-6 years ago when Facebook was going, thinking about, we're going to make you pay for the app, or Twitter was, we're going to make you pay to be on this service. I'm going like, I'm never paying nothing to be on anything where I can talk or anything like that. But it took this app for me, and to see the value that Jason has given me. And, I know I talk about Jason like, he's like the Messiah and things like that. But no, he's just a real good guy that really cares about the people, that really spend money with them and really want to better themselves. I mean, because if you better yourselves, you're going to better him, and you're going to better other people. I mean, you can't help your community. You can't help your family. You can't help anybody else out unless you are successful in what you're doing. So that's why I take these steps that I have to take, and I don't take every step that Jason has like it's gospel. I mean, but I do a lot of the things that he does, and he's got good direction. He's got good lists. He's got good resources. He's got great people like Ken, and hopefully he's going to have another great person like Doug one of these days, because Doug's like, he's the number one freaking co-host of all time, man.
Bruce, it's funny too, because Ken, where did you come from in Massachusetts?
Westwood. So it's just a little bit southwest of Boston, just a suburb of Boston, basically.
I grew up in southwestern Connecticut in a small town.
Okay.
And I'm always telling Bruce, I grew up in a small town, and we had a true democracy. It was town hall government, where if there wasn't like a city council that voted on stuff, everybody in the town that wanted to go to the town meeting could have a vote on any subject, right? And it was pretty cool, but it's a small town. That's what I'm saying. This is kind of a small town stuff. Like town I grew up in, there was one family that had the construction business. They did all the septic tanks. They did all the driveways. There's another company that had the septic tank maintenance company. They pumped all the poop. There was another one that did the propane, and they filled up all the propane tanks, installed all the that's just the way it was.
And everyone knew each other.
And everybody knew. That's right. That's why there was. That's like.
And it's like, oh, the Andersons over here. Well, he lost his job and stuff. They need propane for the winter, and they can't do it. This company is going to still put propane in his tank. And if people in the town need to help, they will help. And I think that's wonderful. And that's what we've lost. In my family's all over the place politically, but we don't dislike each other. And I think we've lost some of that, because the town can come together and help the Andersons when the Andersons need some help, even if they didn't vote for who you wanted them to vote for, or they are against something. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like,
that's the way it was when I was growing up, and I think it's still to some extent. I don't think it's as much anymore. When you have people building 360,000 square foot houses on 20 acres that used to be the baseball field. But that's what happens. But it was like old man Bert he would deliver milk in the winter in his pickup truck, right? Because it was cold enough, didn't need his refrigerated truck. That's where you got your milk from. It's
that's great.
Nazzaro's did the paving and stuff. Lehigh's did the propane and or oil or whatever, and it was that's just the way it was. It was like,
and growing up in Westwood, it was a small town, but it was a suburb of Boston, so obviously it wasn't like it in the boonies or anything, but it was a small town of 15,000 people, which is small in Massachusetts. And our next door neighbor owned the company called Previtt Oil. They were the Mr. and Mrs. Previtt, Tony, and I can't remember his face.
I think I know Previtt Oil.
But they turned to be pretty big, but they were my neighbors, and so they deliver the oil, and we had a heating oil is what we ran in the house. And they had their service truck was an old Ford. It was orange and blue with mags on it and stuff. It was really cool. And they had a snow plow. So whenever it snowed, they do their driveway. And they just come over and do our driveway.
Oh yeah,
And
same thing.
they never asked. They
Yeah.
never wanted anything for it and stuff. My mom would bake a cake, and my dad would buy him a case of beer at the end of the. He's like, you don't have to do this, But it was that kind of a.
It's
place.
a feeling of community that I think we've lost a lot.
Yeah.
In this world.
And this is the beauty of the network, to turn it all around in a circle. This is what it feels like. And I'm making friends on there. Like, I'm Bruce, I'm pretty sure. And Doug, DJ, I hope that you feel the same way. But, if I'm ever out there, I feel I can call you guys and say, hey, let's go have a cup of coffee and something to eat. You know what I mean? And we just get together and have a great time. And so many of the people I've met on the network are people that now have my phone number. No one on Facebook has my phone number. No one on LinkedIn or any of those places have my phone number. I don't give it out. But on this network, I give it out freely, and it's been nothing but value add. And people call and ask me questions. I have questions for them. Vincent Ferrari is another guy on the network. He's got the coolest name on the network of anybody. Jason Stapleton's not a cool name. Vincent Ferrari. Now there's a name. So, but he's a woodworker. By day he designs. He's a packaging designer by day, and then he does woodworking and crafts, and he's a maker. And I've hired him to make some stuff for me. He made a cutting board for my wife for Christmas last year.
Doug knows his work. Doug knows his work because he's seen my cutting board. So
cool.
He saw Vincent's work, yeah.
But he's also just one of those guys that's become a good friend. They've got a podcast called Because We Make, and his partner is in Dedham, Massachusetts, which is the next town over from me.
Yeah, I know Dedham. Yeah,
and he's going to go and take some pictures of a place I used to work, so I can do some paintings based on that. I mean, this all comes around, and it's all through the network that we've been able to do.
Well, Ken, this is what I call damn Yankee. All one word.
This is coming up.
Okay, all one word. Because I'm the same way. Like, I make my own furniture. Okay, when I was a baby, I watched my grandfather like take an old dresser apart and turn it into an armoire or a sideboard, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's what we do.
Make the compost bin.
Yeah, I mean, in my father's, basement, in between the rafters, there were, pieces of lumber and stuff from when the house, my dad had his house custom built, and we finished it. Right. When we moved in, there was wooden floors. The oak floors were there, but all the tiled and carpet floors were just wood. There was no molding. There was nothing was painted, right? And I was just a kid. I was 8 years old. Yeah. So I grew up watching all this stuff.
Oh,
and it's like, and for me, sometimes I'll even just think of a project in order to be able to go buy a new tool. It's like, I want one of those Craig screw things. Let's see. All right, I'm going to build a desk.
For me it was working on cars, and in the 90s I ended up working in a body shop because I designed a t-shirt for a guy, and I wanted to shave the door handles on my 71 Cutlass to be cool. And I didn't realize that I still had to drive the car. So I'm like, well, I did the t-shirt for you, but can you just show me how to do it? And I'll come in and use your welder, and you just show me how to do it, and that we'll just consider that equal. I ended up working for him for 4 years. And then I learned everything I could about welding and custom painting and the chemicals and doing auto body work and restorations. And we did muscle cars, and we built motorcycles, which then morphed into working for a different motorcycle shop that was a little more high end, which ended up getting headhunted. And then I was one of the senior designers at the top motorcycle parts company, and that led to me starting my own company in 2014. All from wanting to learn how to do something. And that is also lost. I taught my kids that, when my daughter, who was this beautiful blonde-haired, blue-eyed princess, when the wheel bearing went in her car, I'm like, well, let's figure out how to fix it. And she's 17 years old and jacked it up and pulled it off. And, I've got a picture of her holding this messed up, with this look of accomplishment on her face. And I'm like, it's one of my favorite pictures of her. And because of that, she knows, like, when she went to find boyfriends and things like that, if they didn't know how to do anything, she's like, they don't know, Dad, they don't know how to do do anything. I can't date that person. I'm like,
right on, good for her.
It's working. It's working. And now she's married. Yeah, she married a guy that knows how to do an awful lot, and he does well. And he's also a two-time world champion competition long distance shooter. So
Nice.
Cool.
we've got that going for you. That she's also protected. So I'm a
Well,
big target shooter. I like
You got-
to
You
to
got
shoot.
bears?
Bears where we are? Yeah, we do. Black bears.
Yeah. So that's what she's protected from.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's very imperative that we have places to go like this, especially in the environment that we're in today, with Facebook being such a little crap place as far as I'm concerned. It is, and Twitter, and I'm not a big supporter of Gab or MeWe or any of those other places too, because they've immediately just kind of just morphed into the
Right.
same thing that Twitter and Facebook were. And of course, you've already heard my story about LinkedIn. But I think that this network has some meat to it. I think it has some teeth to it, and I think it has the right people that need to be there and the right situation for right now. And I'm going to invite everybody, www.nomadnetwork.app. That's where to get to it. I have no / I have no promo code for you. If you just go there, www.nomadnetwork.app, you can get there and you can join as a free as a free member, and kind of soak in everything and introduce yourself and tell them what you're into, or you could just sit back and watch. And I think you're going to get a lot out of it if you go there. And I really appreciate. Go ahead.
Would somebody be able to find this like on an app store or Play Store, something like that, or just
don't
just
believe
at the website?
So, Ken. I think it's mostly by an invitation only right now. I think
Find it on the website. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I think once we get a little bit bigger or something like that, Jason might go into something like that. But he's intent. He wants to grow this network, but I think we have I just say what we have is we have a what do they call that? He says a must read documents. And I can get over there, and it's
they're very strict about it, and which is
he's
good.
got a code of conduct, and you
Yep.
just can't get in there and start bashing people, and you can't get in there and start selling stuff. Nobody sells anything there, and Jason, he sells something there, but I mean it's his app. But I mean if you start acting up,
Right, but you can show your wares, and if someone's interested in it, they can get in touch with you through it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a peer-to-peer. That would be a peer-to-peer thing.
So the idea is if you have something to show, and if there's a call to action, kind of block that out or whatever. The idea is that I want to show you how I'm trying to market my thing, and I want to get the feedback on what you think of my marketing strategy, not what you think about buying my thing.
Right.
I don't want you to buy my thing. I want you to help me market my thing.
Right.
Like
or
a blog.
Develop,
like a question and answer. Like, is this, like you said, does this label look good?
Mm-hmm.
Does this label look good? Well, you know what? The color's kind of hard to see. If you're colorblind, you won't be able to read it.
That was funny because that was one of the comments on one of when we were going through that was one of the comments. People can't see green sometimes. It's the least seen color for colorblind people, and you might not want to have that in there.
Well, I laugh all the time at the convenience store when I see the cigarettes they're all different, like pastel colors, and I'm like, if you're red, green blind, you won't be able to tell which, like, oh, give me the blue ones. It's like, they're all gray to me.
Yep.
Well, Ken, I really want to thank you for being here, man. Like I said, we befriended each other in a very short time, man. I'm really, really happy that I've met you and that you've given me the input and the drive that I've needed to go forward. I mean, you're probably one of the ones that have pushed me towards this website more than anybody.
Cool.
But I also have some other people that have looked at my website and helped me along. I've got David and Rob Lindeman. That Rob Lindeman's going to be on the show here probably in the next couple of weeks.
He's
we're going to talk about the same things. Yeah, he's a great guy too. He's from the East Coast. I envy you guys from the East Coast. You guys have these great stories about these small towns and stuff like that. I'm from here in San Jose, California. I've always been a big city guy, man. I'm lost out here in the country. But I want to give you a minute, Ken, just to kind of plug yourself. What do you got going on? I know you do podcasts and you got your own company and everything. Go ahead and give a couple seconds just to plug yourself and let us know what's going on.
Sure. So the company, our big motorcycle parts company, is called Ciro, CIRO, and the website is ciro3d.com. It's a full retail site there for motorcycle parts and accessories for Harleys and 2018 and newer Goldwings. And then my art side is Mad K Studios, MADDK Studio.com.
is my art business, and I do portraits of automobiles and pets and horses, motorcycles, and just about anything you can think of. I've got a new line of art prints and a series of things coming out too. That's pretty exciting. So that's all at Mad Case Studios, and any of this of the damned social media that you want to look at, instead of looking at people arguing about if Trump was going to be sent to the moon with Elon Musk. Go to Mad Case Studio Facebook page and look at kind of cool pictures.
Again, I really want to thank you, man, for being here. You're a great, you're a great guy, and I hope to have more conversations with you and more podcasts for sure. And then, of course, you can always get the Weathered Soul podcast on anchor.fm/the Weathered Soul podcast, or you can go to WSLN, which is our YouTube network, which is the Weathered Soul Liberty Network. And I'm going to say goodbye to my friend down there. I got to there we go. There he is right there. He is the greatest co-host that I've ever had in my life. He's the only co-host I've ever had in my life, and he's a great guy. DJ Doug, man, I thank you for being here again and being patient. I hope that you go to the Nomad Network, www.nomadnetwork.app, and check it out. Everybody who's listening, please go there, check it out, and see how you like it. And, just keep going to the network, keep hitting that share button, keep hitting that like button, hit that bell, give us a rating and a comment wherever you can, please, somebody. But basically, we just thank everybody who's listening and everybody who's viewing this podcast, and we just thank you so much. And Dougie, it's time for you to say good night, Dougie.
Well, Ken, I'm the resident skeptic, and I can't find anything to complain about here. So it must be okay. Good night, Dougie.
I hope you join in. I hope you do.
Right on.
All right, guys. We'll have a great night, and we will see you in 2 weeks. We'll see you later.